Cover Killer Nation, do not adjust your playback device. I almost said your television set. Some of you might be watching this on a TV for all I know, but yeah, we're talking about a My Morning Jacket album. In fact, it's not the first time we've done this. We talked about Circuit whenever it came out a couple of years ago, a album that delivered us such great songs such as Out of My System and Holding On to Black Metal, which of course was a song we had to talk about considering what we typically speak about on this channel. But we have to talk about the Waterfall here in 2015. We have to talk about it for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, because My Morning Jacket is a great band, a phenomenal band that I do enjoy, and I do like tracking their career. And because this is an album that comes after a couple of years of inactivity. We have a band in My Morning Jacket that saw Jim James actually go off and do his own solo album, which I did not review. But now come back and have 2 albums worth of material that are ready to go. The Waterfall being the first, and the second one, which is yet unnamed, to be released next year. So with the Waterfall, we have a affair where Jim James did a plenitude of the writing for this album. In fact, a lot of the writing credits have him in it within just about every track on this album. In fact, it very much feels at times like Jim was writing yet another solo record, only this one had the backing support of the remainder of the band. And I really like the sound and the tone that the Waterfall really purveys because of what Waterfalls kind of represent for me. And this is in no way going to be a personalized idea of it. Instead, we're going to speak about it a little bit more globally. Whenever you admire a waterfall, you kind of admire the fact that there is a little bit of a rage within the falling, the cascading of the liquid from a higher location to a lower one, but there is a certain calm, a certain beauty, a mystique to the actual idea and the actual physical manifestation of a waterfall that definitely delivers on a multitude of levels, including perhaps a spiritual level for those of you who kind of subscribe to that theory. And that's what this album definitely feels to me. It definitely feels like it captures perfectly all of those different elements. It has plenty of soft, very serene moments that kind of feel like the glide of the water as it's heading toward the falls. It does have a couple of harder moments where the band definitely rocks a little bit hard, which could easily represent the falling of the water and landing in its intended final body of water, the final destination, however many feet below where it started. But then once again, it transitions back into that serenity. It transitions back into that sort of rebirthing idea of really of liquid being transitioned from one area to the next. Now, what do I mean by that? It seems like a pretty lofty way to describe an album without even touching base on the musicality. The musicality on this album is certainly one that needs a little bit of explicit explanation. This is an album where you can hear the core elements of My Morning Jacket's sound, the kind of dreamy style guitar riffs that you can hear throughout a couple of the tracks, some of the explorative nature of these songs that will border on many different moods, but whenever it chills out, it definitely feels like it has a lot of strength to it. And I'm specifically looking at songs such as In Its Infancy, which is the Waterfall in parentheses, Spring Among the Living, which is another terrific song. Really, any song that you see that has parentheses attached to it and a second phrase of words by it is going to be a magnificent track on this disc, and there are 3 of them. The very first track, Believe Nobody Knows, is a great example of an opener that instantly sort of gets your attention and gets you on board with this album's core idea, the core philosophy that's kind of surrounding it. I really enjoy In Its Infancy, principally because it has a bit of a repetitive line to it, that it's stated twice within the album, but it's something that sort of sticks within your head as you're listening to the remainder of the song, whenever you're listening to the composition that sort of swirls around it, because it in itself definitely seems to describe the idea not only of the hyperbolic waterfall, but also of the idea of just about anything, how anything just started as an idea in its infancy, and you sort of hear the manifestation process as the song cascades. It's just a wonderful melody. It's one that has tremendous, tremendous lasting power. Really love the powerful synths that are on this, the keys rather, that are on this track. It has just a great, terrific feel to it. And really The piano that you hear on some moments of this album is just a tremendous addition to an already very expansive instrumental repertoire that My Morning Jacket really boasts. I have to take a moment to talk about Only Memories Remain. This is a track that is very narrow on lyricism, and it's one that almost doesn't even require it. It's kind of amazing how a band is able to take 3 simple words and repeat them pretty much over and over again throughout the course of a 7-minute long track, and make every single statement of those 3 words feel just as poignant and just as potent as the previous one, and just as important as the one that is forthcoming. And this ties into what I mentioned this past Sunday whenever I posted a video entitled 5 of the Worst Things to Ever Happen to Music. It's important because I mentioned whenever we spoke about talent shows such as American Idol and America's Got Talent that you're not seeing people that are really being driven toward a very old-style philosophy of pop music, one that has a lot of imagination behind it. You're not seeing a lot of soul within that realm. It's because here it is. It's trapped within the indie rock sound. In fact, I shouldn't say it's trapped, it's thriving within this sound, because here you have a soulful interpretation of this idea that's very much trapped within a dream, but is just all the more powerful based around those 2 coexisting together. And it actually sparks just a phenomenal closing track for this disc, one that at times feels as though it has a direction that veers off course a bit, but very seldom does it go too far off of that course. This feels very concise. It feels focused. It feels like it has a grand view and a grand plan, and it executes it very well. And I definitely would have to say that whatever that plan may have been from the inception point certainly was executed in a grand fashion. So definitely have to give a lot of props out to the band for just stringing together an impressive work. This is a great album, one that certainly fulfills that idea of a waterfall, one that certainly fulfills that idea of looking at something that can provide such mystique, that can provide such a spiritual grace to so many individuals, and then somehow musically representing that, even if that's not the core idea. It's an apt title for this record because it's kind of what it ends up doing, and it does so in a grand way and in a phenomenal way. I have to give this album a great score. I really do. This is probably one of the better rock albums that I've heard this year. It's an 88 out of 100 for me. It's an album I find myself listening to and getting trapped in over and over again, and today is definitely a great example of that, considering I would listen to a couple of tracks 4, 5, 6 times before being willing to move on to the next one, and I would only find down the line another one that I get trapped on for 4, 5, or 6 playbacks. And whenever you have an album that boasts that kind of real consistency in delivering some great music, then you know that you have done something right, and they definitely have done that. Some people will say that this feels more so like Jim just penned another solo record and now has the backing band and the reputation of the band behind it, and it's kind of his baby. But here's the thing. For one, they signed off on this and they put their soul into it as well, and for 2, don't damn the results based around its creator or its creation process, because it's a hell of a great work. What did you guys think about this album? What did you guys think about The Waterfall by My Morning Jacket? Did you listen to it? Is this something that's not really your ball of wax, your cup of tea, or is this something that you're just as obsessed with as I am? Because all the hidden gems, all the ones that you don't hear about, all the ones that aren't going to be on those same talent shows we referenced in that video so many days ago, they are all within this scene, and they are delivering some fantastic and phenomenal work that is criminally underappreciated by a lot of people. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and we will talk about another album coming up tomorrow. It is a release that's coming within this next week. It's a metal one, but it's something where all of you guys that like some creative and just out there music are going to want to stick around for. I'll give you a hint. The name of the band starts with an A. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.